Would you like to see how Mr. Smith was inspired to create a painting by one of the world's most famous glassblowing artists, Dale Chihuly? Just watch.
In 2011, my wife and I took a vacation to Las Vegas. While walking down the strip, we decided to stop in the Bellagio Hotel. Once there, I walked into the lobby, looked up, and was amazed at seeing these brightly colored organic pieces of glass. I wondered who was the artist. I looked around until I could find some information, and then I discovered the artist was none other than Dale Chihuly, the world-renowned glass artist. For my subscribers and those that have been following my channel, you know for the last few videos that I have been transitioning into paint. The last adult video I put out, I was dabbling in some of the methods used by abstract expressionist Jackson Pollock. I'm still going to continue with some of those techniques and also integrate them with some of my techniques that I used to do years ago. I have been inspired by this piece on the left that is from the Chihuly Garden and Glass Museum in Seattle, Washington. It is an installation piece that has just blown me away. My wife told me this week that I shouldn't concentrate on flowers. Can you do something else? She asked. She said, you know, you've always loved Chihuly. She was right there with me in Vegas when I first saw his installation. And as I was looking and I saw this piece from the Garden and Glass exhibit, it just did something to me. Well, I'm going to tell you, honestly and truly, I have always been inspired by Chihuly's work. Chihuly uses biomorphic organic forms. And that's why I've always loved doing flowers, because that's what they are. Natural forms, forms you find in nature. And when you look at Chihuly's glass looks like it has been grown, not like it's man-made. You see nothing hard, nothing square, nothing rectangular. It always flows one piece into another, one piece in front, one piece in back. Whether he's using spherical shapes or whether he's using these curving shapes. Anyway, once I saw this piece, I said, wow, I love this. This is going to be my inspiration for this painting. And as you're watching me work on this, you're going to see this painting go through all kinds of changes. I start out working very lightly, transparently, almost like a watercolorist would work. I'm throwing paint, I'm doing wet on wet. I have my watercolor brushes where I'm doing these very linear lines, and then I'm spattering, I'm throwing, mixing paint. But I am so influenced by the brightness, the color of Chihuly. It's awe-inspiring for me as an artist to use him to do what I do. And I'm not trying to copy what he does. All I'm trying to do is to use it as a tool, inspiration for how my painting will grow, and my painting grows. If you hang with me throughout this whole video, you will see how this painting changes. This painting goes through. It's almost like growing a child. You have your infancy, you have a young child, teenager, until you get to an adult. And I think this painting goes through all these different changes. I wish I could, well, at least I have it captured on video. I wish I could capture each stage in the painting and have them one next to each other so you can actually see what's happening. Alright, right now, sometimes I have areas that are a little bit too heavy. I take a paper towel, I blot, I put down more. I do the wet on wet. I let things mix into each other. I have a sprayer which I use. I'm throwing paint. I'm speckling paint. I have an atomizer. I have a mouth atomizer which I use, and for some reason, I don't know whether it's me or the atomizer, it just doesn't seem like it flows like I'm used to having it flow. It seems like I'm having to blow harder and harder and just not doing what I want. I also tried a piece of equipment that I've had since the 90s. No, since the 90s, and have never used it. Using an airbrush. Never touched it before. Had it laying around the studio. Decided I was going to pick it up and see what happens. And I really liked it. Some areas got a little bit too opaque too fast, but it was a different feeling. I think I want to come back to it. I really enjoyed it. Right here you see I'm using a paper to mask. I have a spray bottle which I have some very thin layers of paint, and I spray on there. I mask the other areas with the piece of paper so I don't get paint into that area. Right now I'm going back in and trying to bring some of the background in with shades of black, and bring some of my calligraphy back in, because I gotta have it flowing. One thing about Chihuly, when you look at his artwork, it flows. One piece flows into another. Now, when I first started this, it had the yellow top, the red middle, the green bottom. It had 3 vertical shapes on the sides. They disappeared. It had 2 spheres in the front. They disappeared. Like I said, when you're doing a painting, especially when you're doing an abstract painting, sometimes the painting tells you where to go, and you have to go with the flow. You direct it, but like I said, it's almost like raising a child. You try to nurture the child, you try to push it this way, push it that way, but things change. I'm using an airbrush right now, and I love the feel of it. It really got opaque very fast. That's why I almost had to put it down. It got too opaque. Then I could go in with my brush, start hitting on little areas, slow it down just a tad. But the thing I like about it, see, when I have this laid over, you got the same kind of feel in my painting that he has in his actual sculpture. So I feel good about that. When I lay a Chihuly over top of my painting, I get the same kind of movement. Now, in this painting, a lot different from what I've been doing. It's one of the largest paintings I worked on in a while. It's, I guess you might as well say, it's 23 by 40. I had it down on the floor. I had it on my easel. I had it on my drafting board. At first, I was thinking I was going to go outside, but going outside with a painting and cameras and lights and the way the weather has been just didn't work out. So I stayed in my studio. I turned things around. See, I'm using a different technique now. I'm going back to using my knife. I put everything in here except for painting with my foot. I spattered. I used a palette knife. I used my fingers, my brushes. I don't know what technique I didn't use, except maybe some kind of printmaking techniques, monoprint techniques, which sometimes I do. I went through a little love-hate thing with this painting. After the first night, I couldn't stand it. Second night got better. Third night, I was like, ooh, something's happening. This is really becoming something. I even started thinking about a movie called Little Shop of Horrors, where they had almost like a man-eating plant, because the plant itself, and I look at Chihuly's creations almost like plants, or like you said, it's Chihuly's garden that they've been grown. Anyway, I look at this as some kind of growth, but I want you to look real hard, and as you watch this, see if you can find something. There's an Easter egg in this painting. I didn't find it till very late in the painting, but there's an Easter egg there. Put something in the comments what you think the Easter egg is. And for those of you that never played video games and don't know what Easter eggs are hidden things that developers sometimes put in the games. Well, I want to say I have something that was hidden in this painting, and I didn't see till the very end myself. So you watch closely, and if you see it, put it in the comment. See if you can figure it out. Let me tell you about Dale Chihuly. He has done hundreds of exhibits, shows, museums, installations all around the world. In Seattle, he has the Chihuly Garden and Glass, which is a long-time exhibit in Seattle Center. He's a Fulbright scholar, a premier glass artist, teachers of others, and the man responsible for redefining modern glass sculpture as a fine art. The Chihuly Garden and Glass sits in Seattle's center. It's right next to the iconic Space Needle. And the iconic Space Needle was built for the World's Fair, which was in Seattle in 1962. The Wright family, who own and manage the Space Needle, saw an opportunity to reinvigorate Seattle Center. That's when they invited the Northwest artist Dale Chihuly to present a comprehensive collection of his work. Having always loved the Space Needle, Chihuly was delighted with the opportunity to design an exhibition hall, a garden installation, and a glass house in his own community. Through its community partners, Chihuly Garden and Glass supports opportunities for education and involvement in the arts. This painting had me moving and grooving all over my studio. I was up, down, around, back and forth, left and right. I think I used almost everything to paint with, except for my nose. I hoped you enjoyed it. I hope you can find my Easter egg. If you do, leave it in the comments. Now don't forget to help old Mr. Smith out. Like, subscribe, share, hit that bell, and always come back next week to see what Mr. Smith's got cooking in the art room.